Hi, this is Dr. Gregory Sadler. I'm a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've studied and taught philosophy for over 20 years, and I find that many people run into difficulties reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the way things are said or how the text is structured. But the concepts themselves are not always that complicated, and that's where I come in. To help students and lifelong learners, I've been producing longer lecture videos and posting them to YouTube. Many viewers say they find them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each of them focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it useful as well. Jeremy Bentham devotes the bulk of his posthumously published Offenses Against Oneself to discussing male-male sexual relationships and whether they should be prohibited, punished, looked down upon. And he gives a lot of discussion to various arguments that people make, but he actually begins by talking about a number of possible offenses of impurity, and he's doing the typical Bentham thing, which is to survey all the different possibilities, come up with kind of a list, and then tackle each in turn. So we should spend some time looking at what he calls the variety of other offenses of impurity. And he says that they have one property in common, which is that they procure sensations, that is sexual pleasure, right, by means of an improper object. And he says the impropriety then may consist either in making use of an object, and then he's going to go through an entire listing. Now, what does this mean? Well, for Bentham, the norm is heterosexual male-female relationships, which is going to be genital sex and nothing other than that. So everything else is in some way, at least from the point of view that he's arguing here, going to be impure or problematic. So we have a number of different possibilities, some of which he discusses a little bit more than others. He talks about being involved with someone of the proper species, but in an improper time. Prime example of that, dead people. You know, you should have been involved with them while they were alive. And he, I guess, takes this as not needing any further commentary or discussion, because later on, after he's discussed male-male relationships at great length, he's not going to talk about this. I think he just takes that for granted, that we'd all agree, don't have sex with dead people. That's the wrong thing to do. And then we can have the proper species and sex, so male-female relations, but what he calls an improper part. So what is he talking about there? Anything that isn't, traditional genital to genital contact. So oral sex would be an example of that. We could go down the line. Using your armpit or your feet or anything like that would be an improper part. And we'll come back to that in a moment. Then we have proper species but wrong sex. He's already discussed male-male relationships at great length, but he's also going to talk about female-female relationships as well. Wrong species, bestiality, non-human animals, right? So that is another issue as well. And then oneself, right, in procuring this sensation by oneself without the help of any other sensitive object. So there could be other objects involved, but no other sensitive being like another human being, right? So that is what we call masturbation, and he'll actually use that term later on. So let's look at each of these as he discusses them. He talks about the improper part thing in the discussion, whether worse, meaning male-male relations, between men and women than between men. And he says that It seems to be more common for men to apply themselves to a wrong part in women, and in this case, grave authors have found more enormity than when the sex as well as the part of the object is mistaken. Those who go after the principle of the affront, which they say in affairs of any sort, is to God Almighty. So it's basically on religious bases, don't have anything other than penetrative genital sex, assure us that the former contrivance is a more insolent affront than the others, right? And so he's going to say, if you're actually thinking about these sorts of things, we could raise all sorts of problems. What if a man begins in one part of a woman and consummates in another? Or what if he thinks of one person or of one part while employing himself with another? Or begins with a woman and then leaves her in the lurch, right? And Bentham is bringing these up to say, listen, this is kind of a stupid thing to be concerned with. He says, if you don't call in what he calls the principle of utility, and the principle of utility is the basis of his moral theory, which is that we should, always look at the consequences, pain, pleasure, sort of add them up and figure out what produces the best outcomes. Wrong part doesn't produce bad outcomes unless there's something like rape involved or coercion or something like that. So Bentham is saying, a lot of this is, problematic only to people who have irrational, probably religious prejudices. What about women? Proper species, but wrong sex, same-sex relations between women. He says, where women contrive to procure themselves the sensation by means of women, the ordinary course of nature is as much departed from as when it's men with men, right? If you're just complaining about it being the wrong sex, it kind of doesn't matter, right? And yet, he notes that in England, there's no laws against it. He says there are laws in France, that it was punished in France, but the English law doesn't know anything about it. So that's kind of weird, isn't it? Now, he doesn't talk about what we could call the social sanction. Is it looked down upon socially? That could be an issue, but he doesn't go into that. And then talking about the wrong species, bestiality, he says, an abomination which meets with as little quarter as any of the preceding is when a human creature makes use in this way of a beast or other sensitive creature of a different species. Not really sure what he means by other sensitive creature of another different species, if beast means non-human, non-rational animal. It's interesting, though, because this could actually be extended to what if you had a sex doll and it had an AI inside of it? Maybe that would be along the same way. And he's got a very funny thing that he says here. Distress will force a man upon strange expedients. Now, it is roundly condemned, right? So it is looked at as, an abominable thing. And Bentham could very easily, from a utilitarian point of view, said, well, listen, an animal, is probably not going to be cool with you wanting to do things with it. So, it's probably going to cause it pain. You shouldn't do that sort of thing. He doesn't actually do that there. And then finally, the last one that he devotes a lot of discussion to, which we might find a bit curious in our contemporary culture, he talks about masturbation. And he says that, legislators don't really punish this. If they did, it would be kind of stupid because it's really, really hard to control, right? And he also says, the general public doesn't seem to see this as particularly problematic. In popular estimation, the guilt of it is looked upon as much less than any other sexual offense. Bentham has a very different point of view on this. He says it's the most incontestably pernicious of these for multiple reasons, which he's going to give. And it turns out that most of these have to do with what we would nowadays call mistaken conceptions of human physiology and health. He says it's often of the most serious consequence to the health and lasting happiness of those who are led to practice it. Why is this the case? So he says any single act of this kind is beyond comparison more enervating than any single act of these other kinds. The reason of this is not clear, but the fact is certain physicians are all agreed about it. I don't think that we can say that's possibly the case now, that somehow masturbation makes you weaker, more enervated than any of these other things that you might do. He says persons are in a way to give into this practice at an earlier age than that in which they're in a way to give to other practices, at an age when the influence of the enervating cause is greater, right? So there's something to that, but that's assuming that it is actually bad for you. Then he says, in all these other cases, the propensity may be kept within bounds by the want of opportunity. So you want to have same-sex relationships, you got to find somebody else who wants to have a same-sex relationship. You want to have sex with corpses? Well, you got to find yourself a private place to be with corpses. You want to masturbate? You don't have to consult anybody. You're on your own, quite literally, right? So he says, in this case, there can scarce ever be want of opportunities. Now, okay, these are not particularly good arguments for it being, really bad. Here's one that might be taken seriously, depending on, how you look at things in our own time. Physicians are agreed this is not an infrequent cause of indifference in each of the sexes to the other, and in the male sex it often ends in impotence. Well, okay, does it end in impotence? Probably not. They seem to have had in mind an old idea that, you had a certain amount of sexual energy, and if you ran through it, then you're done. You've used up your life force. But, if you're doing it all the time, okay, that could make you indifferent to other sexual opportunities with other people. And so he's going to say, this is a really, really big problem. And we might view that as sort of a quaintness on Bentham's part, a sort of hypothetical argument where we don't accept the premises and we're like, yeah, the conclusion doesn't actually follow. But he does, in fact, consider it like the worst of all of these possible offenses. So, that's pretty serious because, having sex with corpses, masturbation is worse. So that is Bentham's view on the other, what he calls offenses against purity, the different varieties of them in his Offenses Against Oneself.